Today, chocolate cake is requested for 60% of American birthdays. It is the default centerpiece of every celebration. We slice it, we tear into it, and we rarely stop to question where it actually comes from. For most of human history, the cakes we take for granted were chemically impossible to produce. Our current recipes are the direct results of wartime rationing, accidental chemistry, and aggressive corporate marketing. We are going to deconstruct 8 iconic American cakes, moving chronologically through time to see exactly how they were engineered. Every slice serves as an edible timeline of human problem solving. In the 1700s, European bakers developed a simple formula: 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of sugar, 1 pound of eggs, and 1 pound of flour. The pound cake. Because baking powder didn't exist yet, bakers had to rely on pure physical strength, beating air into the heavy butter by hand. A few decades later, the chocolate cake arrived. Before 1764, chocolate was strictly a beverage, and the processing methods needed for baking simply didn't exist. That limitation was finally broken in 1828, when Conrad von Houten invented the Dutch processing method to turn cocoa into a usable baking powder. This diagram shows the exact chemical reaction that makes the modern version possible. When baking soda hits the cocoa's natural acidity, it creates the rise and that signature deep, dark color. These early bakers bypassed physical and chemical limits through a combination of manual labor and the first waves of food science. By the 1920s, America found a new obsession: the pineapple upside-down cake. During the Great Depression, fresh tropical fruit was an exotic luxury, entirely out of reach for average families facing severe economic hardship. But canned pineapple was affordable. The Dole Company aggressively promoted a technique where home cooks caramelized butter and brown sugar in a heavy, heat-retaining cast-iron skillet, layered the canned fruit, and poured the batter on top. While the rest of the country baked out of cast-iron pans to survive the decade, 1927 Los Angeles gave birth to the Chiffon Cake. Created by Harry Baker, the recipe was a 20-year secret served exclusively to the Hollywood elite at upscale restaurants like the Brown Derby. Baker's secret ingredient was vegetable oil instead of butter. This swap successfully bridged the gap between airy angel food and heavy butter cakes, creating a texture no one had ever tasted before. The masses relied on canned corporate fruit and heavy skillets during the Depression, while Hollywood royalty dined on a closely guarded vegetable oil secret. In the 1930s, the striking color of red velvet cake emerged completely by accident. Originally, the cake was barely reddish, the result of cocoa's natural anthocyanin reacting with acidic buttermilk and vinegar. But the Adams Extract Company hijacked this subtle reaction, launching a marketing scheme requiring tablespoons of artificial dye just to sell red food coloring. A decade later, the Tres Leches cake defied physics. It is a sponge cake soaked in evaporated milk, condensed milk, and heavy cream that somehow holds all that liquid without collapsing. Mexico, Nicaragua, and Cuba all claim to have invented it first. But there is a strong conspiracy theory that the recipe was heavily popularized by Nestle marketing campaigns in the 40s and 50s to move massive amounts of canned dairy product. At the exact same time, World War II rationing brought carrot cake out from its roots as a medieval poverty food. Britain's Ministry of Food promoted carrots as a natural sweetener to bypass the strictly restricted fat and sugar rations. But carrots alone aren't enough. Without the precise addition of cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger, you are functionally baking a loaf of sweet vegetable bread. The cakes of the mid-20th century share a common thread. They are the products of manipulation. Governments altered recipes for wartime survival, and corporations engineered them for pure profit. By 1989, cake became a fully manufactured product. Pillsbury invented Funfetti to compete with Duncan Hines, locking the name down as protected intellectual property. The real innovation required serious food science. This diagram shows how Pillsbury researchers engineered tiny candy bits with specialized coatings that wouldn't melt or bleed their color into the batter under extreme oven heat. What started as a 99-cent boxed mix for children's birthday parties has now been reverse engineered by trendy bakeries charging $8 a slice. Funfetti is the culmination of cake evolution, an engineered, legally trademarked intellectual property masquerading as a childhood tradition. We've moved from 1700s kitchens requiring brute physical strength to 1990s food science laboratories engineering heat-resistant candy coatings. Every slice of these iconic cakes reflects the precise economic and technological conditions of the era that birthed it. When you blow out the candles on your next birthday, you're tasting 3 centuries of human adaptation and ingenuity.